Move it to Tokyo. Can't do it. Store it for 100 years. Can't do it. What happens if I mine Bitcoin, take an S19 miner, put it on a megawatt of power, convert it to Bitcoin? What happens if I mine Bitcoin, take an S19 miner, put it on a megawatt of power, convert it to Bitcoin? I've converted electrical energy into digital energy. It's worth $4 million of Bitcoin on an S19 miner. An S19 miner will spit out about $1 million worth of Bitcoin. Now, what happens after I've digitized the energy? It'll last forever. Can I move $4 million worth of Bitcoin, move it to Tokyo? Well, 2 days ago, someone moved $2 billion of Bitcoin for like 78 cents, Rel. 78 cents to move $2 billion of digital energy anywhere on Earth. People are like, well, it's slow. Well, it takes an hour or half an hour on the main chain.
That's hardly slow.
Okay, try moving $1 billion of gold or $1 billion of electricity 10,000 miles. Yeah, okay, build yourself the pipeline to move $1 billion of natural gas 10,000 miles. Can't move it at all. Chemical energy doesn't move. We had contango in the oil market when petroleum prices went negative. Why? Because you can't store oil, right? Store $1 billion of oil as an individual. Can't do it. You can store $1 billion of Bitcoin on an Android phone that costs $50. You can move it at the speed of light. They're discovering that in El Salvador right now via the Lightning Network. We're moving digital energy at the speed of light at a transaction cost of 1 Satoshi. 1/2000th of a cent is the price. Now, it's a big idea, but here's the idea. Humanity has advanced via harnessing chemical energy, wind energy, right? Potential energy, hydro energy, thermal energy, electrical energy, nuclear energy, and what's the end of it? Digital energy. If you convert those forms of energy into digital energy, that energy has 3 properties that are critical, and people don't get this. The first property is the digital energy has a half-life of forever. I can hold it for 100 years, right? The second property is digital energy can be moved at anywhere on Earth for free, teleported. That's a big idea. The third idea is you can subdivide and oscillate the energy, any frequency at any scale. So what do I mean by that? Or I'll give you an illustration. I have $50 million and I buy a hotel in Dallas, Texas, and it's got 100 hotel rooms. Now, I want to generate yield on the hotel, so I let people book the rooms, whatever the prevailing rate is, $100 a night. The average utilization in Dallas, Texas is going to be like 62%. And my fixed costs are such that I get about a 10% margin. And if we fall below 62%, I'm losing money. I'm not getting any yield in that. Okay, that's physical property. Now convert that to energy, pure energy. I buy Bitcoin. It's a energy hotel. What does that mean? Well, now I can actually move the hotel or take the rooms of the hotel that where there's no demand in Dallas, Texas, and I can send them somewhere else in space to get to 100% utilization. And when I get to 100% utilization, obviously my profitability jumps from 10% to 60%. My yield goes through the roof. Now, having said all that, if every single room in the hotel was booked every single day, then obviously the hotel is generating higher yield. But even if I booked every room in the hotel every day, people are only using 8 to 10 hours a day of the rooms. What if I could subdivide the hotel down into room hours? And if I could reclaim the 62% of the room hours when the hotel is still idle? Now that's interesting. Now I get to 300% utilization. Now here's a bigger idea. 300% utilization at $100 a room night turns my profitability from 10% to 200%. What if I could actually sell room hours anywhere on earth, and I could go chase after the highest marginal value of the room hour? So during the Super Bowl, I put the hotel where the Super Bowl is. And during the Venice Film Festival, I move it to where the Venice Film Festival is. And if there's an inaugural event in DC, I move the hotel there. And then I could double the room rate to $20, or $200 a day instead of $100 a day. What I have done is I've vibrated the energy, or I've moved the energy at a higher frequency, and I've captured a higher marginal utility. And I've done it by dematerializing the property to pure energy on a network. And I kind of just described the promise of DeFi, which could be CeFi or DeFi, but this idea of dematerialized finance.
But it's also the collateral thing that I've been talking about. Because basically what you've got is a piece of collateral that somebody's going to want at some point. And therefore you can charge accordingly for your collateral, which you don't do with treasuries, because yields actually go down when everybody wants collateral. It's kind of weird. But here you're getting the piece of collateral that somebody wants. So if somebody's in financial stress, they need something, they need the collateral, you can lend it out instantaneously anywhere in the world. And the collateral's never impaired because it's on the blockchain. It's a really fascinating concept.
It's like Tesla's concept of understand frequency. Understand frequency, and what does that mean? High frequency, high fidelity collateral, or high frequency, high fidelity energy. In this particular case, if I have $1 billion of gold, I put it in a vault. What's the monetary velocity on that? Once every decade?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't divide the gold into 1 million pieces and lend it every hour. The velocity, the best way to get velocity on gold is coin it, right? If I converted the gold into coinage and we're trading the coins, I can kind of move to a higher velocity money. Bullion is low velocity money. If I go to the fiat system with credit cards, $1 billion spent via the credit card system, it takes 30 to 60 days to settle. Right? When I give you $1,000, you have to wait 30 days before you know that the credit card company's not going to claw back the money.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit tricky as a retailer. There's a 2.5% fee every single time it changes hands, and the velocity is 5 per year. Okay. Now let's go to digital energy and the entire crypto space. You see what's going on. The velocity, the final settlement is in an hour. Well, what if the final settlement's in a second? Well, let's just keep it at an hour. Final settlement's in an hour. There's 8,700 hours in a year. So now I take my $1 billion block of energy and I subdivide it 1,000 ways, and I move it back and forth every hour, and I chase after the person willing to give me the highest marginal yield on the energy. And how do you do that? Well, one computer talks to 100,000 other computers 1,000 times a second, or 1 million times a second while you're sleeping. And what you have is a financial system that's continually yield seeking, looking for someone that needs that loan. Maybe it's a loan for a month. And you're either borrowing or you're lending, one or the other, right? I mean, I can lend it and generate yield off it, or I'm borrowing. I'm seeking the person willing to give me the lowest cost loan. If you have a certain amount of Bitcoin, let's say I have $1 million and I expect it to appreciate at 10% a year. If my expense ratio is less than my appreciation rate, I can borrow against it forever with my loan to value falling, right? My debt to equity ratio will keep falling. I can spend 5% of my money every year forever, as long as it appreciates at 6% a year, assuming I've got a bank that I trust, right?